Michelle stood quietly at the entrance of the church, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and nerves. Today was her wedding day, one of the biggest moments in her life. She looked stunning in her white wedding dress, her dark blonde hair gently curled and flowing down her back. She could feel the eyes of the guests on her, but her attention was focused on one person, the man who was about to walk her down the aisle. Marcus, her stepdad, waited for her at the front of the church. He was dressed sharply in a white pantsuit that matched Michelle's dress. His white hair was neatly combed back, and he looked calm but proud. For more than 10 years, Marcus had been part of Michelle's life. Ever since her mom remarried, he had stepped in to be a father figure, supporting her through school, cheering at her sports games, and always being there when she needed someone to talk to. As the music began, Marcus took Michelle's arm gently and started walking her down the aisle. Many of the guests smiled warmly at the sight, the stepdad and stepdaughter sharing this special moment. Michelle's mom, Laura, sat near the front, her eyes shining with tears of happiness. The atmosphere was filled with love and hope for the new family they were creating. Marcus felt a deep sense of pride as he walked Michelle forward. This was his chance to show how much he cared for her, to prove that he was there to stay. He glanced down at Michelle, who looked radiant but slightly tense. He whispered softly, "You're going to be amazing." Michelle nodded, squeezing his arm, and together they reached the altar where Michelle's fiancé waited. The ceremony went smoothly, full of joyful smiles and happy tears. Michelle said her vows, promising love and loyalty, and Marcus watched with a full heart, feeling honored to be part of this day. After the ceremony, the guests moved to the reception hall, where music and laughter filled the air. Photos were taken, and everyone celebrated the beginning of Michelle and her husband's life together. However, something unexpected happened after the wedding day. Michelle started posting photos on social media, but none of them showed Marcus. Every family picture was carefully cropped to leave him out. Friends and family noticed, whispering questions about why the man who had walked her down the aisle was suddenly missing from the memories. Marcus saw the photos too. Each time he scrolled through Michelle's posts, a small ache grew inside him. He remembered the years he spent being there for her, the moments they shared. He thought their bond was strong, but these images told a different story. Marcus didn't want to cause trouble or make Michelle feel uncomfortable, so he stayed quiet, hoping there was a reason behind this. Michelle's feelings were complicated. She loved Marcus and appreciated everything he did for her, but a part of her still felt connected to her biological dad, Tony. Even though Tony had left when Michelle was very young, she often dreamed of having a relationship with him. Marcus knew about this and tried to be understanding, but it was hard not to feel like a stranger in the family sometimes. Inside Michelle, there was a battle between loyalty and confusion. She wanted to honor Marcus for walking her down the aisle, but she also wanted to protect her memories of her real dad. Posting pictures without Marcus was her way of handling this conflict, even if it hurt him. She didn't share the struggle with anyone, not even her mom, because she didn't want to ruin the happiness of the wedding. Marcus wished he could talk to Michelle openly about how he felt, but he worried about pushing her away. He spent many nights wondering if he had done something wrong or if there was a way to fix their broken connection. Laura, Michelle's mom, noticed the distance growing but didn't want to interfere. She hoped time would heal the invisible wounds between them. Despite the silence, Marcus still loved Michelle like his own daughter. Walking her down the aisle was one of the proudest moments of his life, and even if he was missing from the photos, he held on to the memory tightly. He hoped someday Michelle would understand how much he cared, and that family meant more than blood or pictures. This was just the beginning of a long journey for both of them, one filled with love, pain, and the hope for a closer bond. Marcus believed that, in time, the empty spaces in those photos could be filled with real moments of trust and acceptance. After the wedding, life seemed to return to normal for most of the family, but for Marcus and Michelle, things felt different. Marcus noticed how Michelle was slowly pulling away from him. She didn't call or text like she used to, and when they met in person, her smiles felt forced. The more he tried to reach out, the more distant she became. One afternoon, Marcus decided to visit Michelle's house unannounced. When Michelle opened the door, she looked surprised but invited him in. They sat in the living room, the air heavy with things left unsaid. Marcus looked at her and finally spoke. "Michelle, I want to understand what's going on. After everything we've been through, I feel like you're pushing me away. Is there something I did?" Michelle looked down at her hands and sighed deeply. "It's not about what you did, Marcus. It's complicated. I'm still trying to figure out my feelings. You've been there for me, yes. But sometimes I feel like I don't belong. Not with you, not with anyone. It's like I'm stuck between two families." Marcus nodded slowly. "I get it. I know you have your real dad in your heart. But I want you to know I'm not trying to replace him. I just want to be here for you in whatever way you need." Michelle's eyes filled with tears, but she quickly wiped them away. "Thank you, Marcus. I appreciate that more than you know. It's just hard. Sometimes I look at the photos from the wedding and see you walking me down the aisle. But then I feel guilty for not showing you in the pictures. I didn't want to hurt you, but I didn't know how else to handle it." Marcus smiled gently. "It's okay to be honest with me. We don't have to pretend everything is perfect. Maybe we can figure this out together." Michelle nodded, a small hope growing inside her. At the same time, Michelle was reconnecting with her biological dad's family. She found herself spending more time with Tony's relatives, learning about the man she barely remembered. She shared stories, photos, and memories with them, filling a part of her that had been empty for years. These visits brought her comfort, but also confusion about where she belonged. Marcus heard about these visits and felt torn. He wanted to support Michelle's journey, but sometimes it felt like he was being replaced. He wondered if he would ever truly be accepted as family or if he was always going to be an outsider. These feelings made him pull back a little, afraid to be hurt again. Michelle noticed Marcus's distance and felt guilty. She wanted to keep both families in her life, but didn't know how. Her mom, Laura, tried to help by encouraging conversations between everyone, but the silence was louder than words. The wedding had promised new beginnings, but instead it had opened old wounds. One day, Michelle's best friend asked her why Marcus wasn't in the pictures she shared. Michelle hesitated before explaining. "He walked me down the aisle, but after that, I needed to find myself. Cropping him out wasn't easy, but it was my way of coping." Her friend listened quietly and then said, "Maybe you should talk to him. He seems to care a lot. It might help both of you." Michelle knew her friend was right, but fear held her back. She didn't want to risk losing Marcus or hurting him more. Meanwhile, Marcus tried to stay positive. He spent time with Laura, hoping she could help bridge the gap. Laura reminded him that healing takes time and that Michelle was still young, finding her place in the world. "Be patient," Laura said. "She loves you, even if it doesn't always show." The months passed with ups and downs, small moments of warmth mixed with long silences. Marcus and Michelle were learning that family wasn't just about perfect pictures or big gestures. It was about patience, understanding, and being willing to face hard truths. Though the wedding day was over, the real journey was just beginning. Both Marcus and Michelle had to find a way to build a relationship that could survive doubts, fears, and the past. It wouldn't be easy, but deep inside, they'd both hoped for a future where they could be honest, close, and truly part of each other's lives. The story was far from finished. Michelle's life felt more complicated than ever. Even though she had just gotten married, her mind kept drifting back to her family's struggles. The tension with Marcus, her stepdad, made her feel torn inside. She wanted to be honest with everyone, but the fear of hurting people held her back. One afternoon, Michelle met her biological dad's sister, Maria, at a small cafe. Maria was warm and welcoming, eager to share stories about Tony, Michelle's dad. They talked for hours about the past, about the man Michelle barely remembered but longed to know. Maria showed her old photos and letters, giving Michelle a glimpse into the life she had missed. Michelle felt a strange mix of joy and sadness. Reconnecting with this part of her family gave her a new sense of identity, but it also made the distance from Marcus feel sharper. She worried that embracing her biological dad's family meant pushing Marcus away, and that thought made her anxious. After the cafe meeting, Michelle called Marcus. She hesitated before speaking, but finally said, Marcus, I met Maria today. It felt good to learn about my dad. I hope you understand. Marcus listened quietly and replied, Michelle, I want you to find peace with your past. I'm here for you, no matter what. Their conversation was honest and open, but it didn't solve everything. The next day, Michelle posted more wedding photos on social media, and once again, Marcus was missing. This time, some family members commented, asking why he wasn't in the pictures. Michelle ignored the comments, feeling overwhelmed. At home, Laura, Michelle's mom, noticed the growing distance between Michelle and Marcus. She invited them both for dinner one evening, hoping to bring them together. During the meal, she gently asked, Michelle, Marcus, have you talked about what's happening between you? Both nodded but stayed quiet. Marcus broke the silence. I just want to understand how Michelle feels. I don't want to lose her. Michelle looked at him and said, I'm scared, Marcus. Scared of losing myself if I get too close to anyone. Laura listened carefully, realizing this was a bigger issue than she thought. After dinner, Michelle and Marcus took a walk outside. The cool air helped them feel calm. Marcus said, Michelle, family isn't just about blood or pictures. It's about trust and time. I want to build that with you. Michelle smiled faintly, feeling hope for the first time in a long while. But not everyone understood their situation. Some relatives whispered that Michelle was ungrateful to Marcus for everything he did. Others believed Marcus was trying too hard to replace her real dad. These opinions added pressure on Michelle and Marcus, making it harder to heal. Michelle's husband noticed the tension and tried to support her. He encouraged her to talk openly with Marcus and her mom. He reminded her that marriage was about honesty and facing challenges together. His calm support helped Michelle feel less alone. Over time, Michelle started sharing small moments with Marcus again. Texts about daily life, short visits, and quiet conversations. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. Marcus stayed patient, understanding that healing takes time. One day, Michelle found an old photo of her and Marcus at a school event. She smiled at the memory and felt a pang of regret for cropping him out of her wedding pictures. She realized that Marcus had been there through many important moments, even if she hadn't always noticed. She decided to talk to Marcus honestly. I'm sorry for leaving you out of the photos. It wasn't because I didn't care. I was just confused. Marcus hugged her and said, Thank you for telling me. That means a lot. Michelle knew their relationship would still have challenges, but she was ready to try. She wanted to build a family where love and understanding were stronger than fear and confusion. It would take time, but she believed it was possible. Their story was far from over, but now it had a new chapter, one filled with hope, honesty, and the slow but steady healing of a family learning to grow together. Michelle's life felt like a balancing act. She wanted to build a happy marriage, but her family struggles weighed on her mind every day. Marcus, her stepdad, still tried to reach out, but Michelle wasn't always ready to answer. She felt torn between the past and the future. One afternoon, Michelle's phone buzzed with a message from Marcus. It was a simple text. Thinking of you. Hope you're okay. Michelle paused before replying. She wanted to ignore it, but something made her type back, Thank you. I'm okay. This small exchange was a start, but things weren't that simple. Michelle still avoided talking about the wedding photos. She kept them carefully edited, with Marcus cropped out of every picture. To her, it was a way to protect herself, to keep the memories of her biological dad separate from the new family she was trying to build. Laura, Michelle's mom, noticed the distance growing between them. One evening, she sat down with Michelle and said, Honey, I know things are hard, but keeping secrets won't help anyone. Maybe it's time to be honest with Marcus and yourself. Michelle nodded, but didn't speak. She wasn't sure if she was ready. Around the same time, Marcus decided to write Michelle a letter. He poured his feelings into the pages, explaining how much he loved her and how proud he was to have walked her down the aisle. He didn't ask for anything in return, just honesty and a chance to be part of her life. Michelle found the letter on her kitchen table one morning. She read it slowly, feeling tears well up. For the first time, she saw Marcus's pain clearly. It wasn't just about being left out of photos. It was about feeling invisible in a family he loved deeply. That evening, Michelle called Marcus. Her voice was soft but steady. "Marcus, I got your letter. Thank you for being honest with me. I'm sorry for pushing you away. It wasn't fair." Marcus smiled, relieved to hear her words. "Thank you, Michelle. I want us to be family, no matter what." They agreed to meet for coffee the next day. Sitting across from each other, they talked openly for hours. Michelle shared her fears of losing her identity, her confusion about where she belonged. Marcus listened patiently and promised to support her, no matter how long it took. During their talk, Michelle's phone buzzed with a notification. It was a comment on one of her wedding photos, someone asking why Marcus wasn't in the pictures. Michelle felt a rush of guilt and embarrassment. She admitted to Marcus, "I'm scared of what people think. Sometimes it feels easier to pretend you're not there." Marcus reached across the table and took her hand. "People's opinions don't matter. What matters is what we build together. Family isn't perfect, and it's okay to have struggles." Michelle smiled, feeling hope for the first time in months. She realized that healing would take time, but it was possible if they were honest and patient. At home, Laura encouraged everyone to spend more time together. She planned family dinners and casual get-togethers to help mend the invisible wounds. Slowly, Marcus became a regular part of Michelle's life again, not just a stepdad in the background, but someone she could trust and lean on. Michelle's husband noticed the change too. He supported her efforts and reminded her that love means accepting imperfections. With his encouragement, Michelle began to open up more, sharing her feelings with Marcus and her mom. Over time, the wedding photos became less important. Michelle started creating new memories with Marcus: quiet walks, shared meals, and honest talks. These moments felt more real and meaningful than any picture. One afternoon, Michelle decided to post a new photo, a candid shot of her and Marcus laughing together. She captioned it simply, "Family isn't perfect, but love makes it real." The post received warm comments and support from friends and family. Marcus felt grateful for this small but powerful step. It showed that Michelle was ready to accept him fully. He knew their journey wasn't over, but it was moving in the right direction. This chapter of their story was about healing, honesty, and the quiet strength of patience. Marcus and Michelle were learning that family isn't just about moments frozen in time, but about the love they built day by day. Michelle's world was slowly changing. After her honest talk with Marcus, things between them began to improve. They started spending more time together, sharing small moments that felt real and comforting. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. One Saturday, Marcus invited Michelle and her husband to his home for lunch. Michelle hesitated but agreed, hoping this could be a step toward building a stronger family bond. When they arrived, Marcus was waiting at the door with a warm smile. The house smelled like freshly cooked food, and the atmosphere felt relaxed. During lunch, they talked about everyday things: work, hobbies, and plans for the future. Michelle noticed how Marcus genuinely cared about her happiness, not just as his stepdaughter, but as a person. She felt safe and supported in a way she hadn't before. After the meal, they sat in the living room. Marcus pulled out an old photo album. He flipped through the pages, showing pictures of Michelle growing up, her first day at school, birthday parties, and family trips. Michelle smiled, touched by the memories she had almost forgotten. "These moments are part of our story," Marcus said softly. "I'm proud to have been there for you." Michelle nodded, feeling a mix of gratitude and sadness. She wished she had realized this sooner. The photo album was a reminder of the time they had shared, even if it hadn't always been perfect. Later that evening, Michelle reflected on her relationship with Marcus. She realized that while her biological dad's family was important, Marcus had been a steady presence during her life's most challenging moments. He had loved her without conditions. But old fears still lingered. Michelle worried about how others would judge her if she fully accepted Marcus's family. Some relatives whispered behind her back, questioning whether Marcus belonged. These doubts made Michelle cautious. One day, Michelle's husband suggested they all attend family counseling together. At first, Michelle was unsure, but she agreed, hoping it might help clear the air. During the sessions, they talked openly about their feelings, misunderstandings, and hopes. Marcus shared how it hurt to feel invisible, especially on important days like the wedding. Michelle explained her fears about losing her identity and the confusion she felt. Hearing each other's pain helped them understand one another better. The counselor encouraged them to create new family traditions and communicate more honestly. Michelle realized that healing wasn't about forgetting the past but building trust for the future. After counseling, Michelle started including Marcus more in her life. She invited him to family gatherings and introduced him proudly as her stepdad. She even posted new photos online showing their growing bond. Marcus's heart filled with happiness seeing this change. One afternoon, Michelle received a call from Maria, her biological aunt. Maria wanted to meet and talk about Tony, Michelle's dad. Michelle agreed, feeling grateful to have both parts of her family. She knew it wouldn't be easy to balance, but she was learning. Marcus supported Michelle's relationship with her biological family. He never wanted to stand in the way of her happiness. Instead, he encouraged her to keep connections alive, reminding her that love is not limited. As weeks turned into months, Michelle and Marcus built a new kind of family. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. They shared laughs, tears, and quiet moments that created strong bonds. One evening, Michelle sat with Marcus and her mom, Laura. They looked through more old photos and talked about the future. Michelle felt a deep sense of peace. The walls between them were coming down. She knew challenges would come, but she was ready to face them with an open heart. Marcus was no longer just a stepdad who walked her down the aisle. He was family. Their story was still unfolding, but now it was full of hope, forgiveness, and the promise of love that grows stronger every day. Michelle's relationship with Marcus had come a long way, but it was still a work in progress. Even though they spent more time together, some old habits and feelings took longer to change. Marcus wanted to be part of Michelle's life fully, but sometimes he still felt like an outsider. One afternoon, Michelle invited Marcus to her house to help plan her birthday party. She wanted to make the day special, and she hoped involving him would bring them closer. Marcus arrived with a smile, carrying decorations and ideas. They worked side by side, laughing and sharing stories from the past. As they hung balloons and set up the table, Marcus noticed Michelle seemed distracted. After a while, she finally spoke. "Marcus, sometimes I still feel confused about where I belong. It's hard to mix my past and present." Marcus nodded, understanding her feelings more than she realized. "It's okay to feel that way," he said gently. "Family isn't always simple, but we can build it together." Michelle smiled, grateful for his patience. The birthday party was a success. Friends and family gathered to celebrate, and Marcus was there, proudly standing beside Michelle. Some guests whispered about the stepdad who had come so far, but Marcus didn't mind. He knew what mattered most was the bond they were building. After the party, Michelle's husband noticed something new. Michelle was more open with Marcus, sharing her thoughts and feelings without fear. This honesty helped Marcus feel accepted, even if the road was still bumpy. One day, Michelle's mom, Laura, suggested they all spend a weekend together away from the city. She hoped the trip would help them relax and enjoy each other's company without distractions. Marcus and Michelle agreed. The weekend was filled with quiet moments and shared laughter. They cooked meals, went on walks, and talked about their dreams. Marcus told stories about his youth, and Michelle shared memories of her childhood. These conversations brought them closer, breaking down walls built by fear and misunderstanding. During a walk by the lake, Michelle opened up about her fears. "I worry that no matter what I do, I won't be able to make everyone happy. Sometimes I feel like I'm caught between two worlds." Marcus listened carefully. "You don't have to please everyone," he said. "What matters is that you are true to yourself and the people who love you." Michelle felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She realized she didn't have to choose between her biological family and Marcus. Both could be part of her life in different ways. This acceptance was freeing. When they returned home, Michelle started reaching out more to Marcus. She sent him photos, invited him to events, and made space for him in her life. Marcus responded with kindness, never rushing but always showing he cared. But healing isn't always smooth. One day, Michelle found a comment online that hurt her. Someone said, "Why'd even bother with a stepdad if you have a real dad?" Michelle felt torn. She wanted to explain, but words failed her. She called Marcus and told him about the comment. Marcus replied softly, "Don't let others define our family. What we have is real and strong." These words comforted Michelle, reminding her that love isn't about what others say, but what they feel. As months passed, Michelle and Marcus built new traditions. They celebrated birthdays, holidays, and small victories together. Marcus was no longer just a man who walked her down the aisle. He was a trusted friend, a guide, and a family member. Michelle's husband watched their relationship grow with pride. He knew that family comes in many forms, and what mattered most was love and respect. Together, they created a home where everyone felt valued. Michelle often thought back to the early days when she cropped Marcus out of her wedding photos. She felt regret, but also gratitude for the journey they had shared. It wasn't easy, but they were stronger because of it. Their story showed that family isn't about perfection, but about patience, forgiveness, and the courage to keep trying. Marcus and Michelle were proof that even broken pieces can come together to create something beautiful. Michelle's journey with Marcus was far from over, but they had made important progress. The distance that once felt so wide was slowly closing. Both of them were learning to trust each other again, and with every small step, their bond grew stronger. One afternoon, Michelle received a call from an old family friend, Sarah. She had known Michelle since she was a child and had watched the family changes over the years. Sarah invited Michelle and Marcus to a small gathering at her home, hoping it would be a chance for everyone to reconnect. Michelle was nervous but agreed to go. She wanted to show Marcus that she was ready to stand by him publicly. Marcus was happy to join and helped Michelle pick out a gift for Sarah. The evening promised to be a new chapter for their family. When they arrived, the house was warm and filled with laughter. People greeted them with smiles and kind words. Michelle noticed how some guests looked at Marcus differently, not as just a stepdad, but as a real part of the family. This made her heart feel lighter. During the gathering, Michelle and Marcus talked openly with friends and family. They shared stories about their struggles and the path they were building together. Many people admired their honesty and courage. After the event, Michelle and Marcus walked home together. The night air was cool, and the stars shone brightly. Michelle looked at Marcus and said, "Thank you for standing by me, even when things were hard." Marcus smiled and replied, "You've been brave too. This journey isn't easy, but it's worth it." As days passed, Michelle's confidence grew. She started posting more pictures with Marcus on social media, showing their growing bond without fear. Her followers noticed and praised the change. Michelle felt proud to share this part of her life. But old challenges still appeared. Some relatives were slow to accept Marcus fully. They made subtle remarks that hurt Michelle. She tried to ignore them, focusing on the positive changes instead. Marcus reminded her, "Don't let others take away our joy." One morning, Michelle received a message from her biological aunt, Maria. Maria wanted to visit and spend time with her. Michelle welcomed the idea but worried about balancing both families. She talked to Marcus about her concerns. Marcus said, "I support your relationship with your biological family. We can find a way to make it work. You don't have to choose." His words comforted Michelle and gave her strength. Soon, Michelle invited both families to a small dinner. It was the first time they met in the same room. At first, the atmosphere was tense, but as the night went on, smiles appeared and conversations flowed. It was a beginning, a step toward unity. Michelle realized that family wasn't about perfect harmony, but about willingness to try. She felt grateful to have Marcus by her side, someone who accepted her past and believed in their future. Marcus also felt hopeful. He knew he wasn't perfect, but his love for Michelle was real. Walking her down the aisle had been a proud moment, but being part of her life every day was even more meaningful. Together, they planned new traditions: family game nights, weekend outings, and simple dinners. These moments created memories stronger than any photo could capture. Michelle's husband watched their growth with pride. He saw a family healing and becoming stronger. He knew their story was still unfolding, but believed in their love and commitment. One evening, Michelle sat with Marcus and her mom, Laura. They talked about the future, about hopes and dreams. Michelle felt a deep sense of peace she hadn't known before. The walls between them were coming down. Their story was a reminder that family isn't always easy, but with patience, love, and honesty, it can grow beyond the challenges. Marcus and Michelle were proof that even after pain and distance, bonds can be rebuilt and strengthened. Michelle's journey with Marcus had grown into something strong and real. The tension that once filled their days was slowly replaced by understanding and respect. Although the past was not forgotten, it no longer held them back. Instead, it became a foundation for something new. One afternoon, Michelle found herself looking through her old wedding album. She hesitated when she saw the pictures where Marcus was cropped out. The images reminded her of the pain and confusion she had felt at that time. But now she saw things differently. Marcus wasn't just a figure in the background. He was part of her story. She decided to do something she hadn't done before. Michelle contacted her photographer and asked for the original pictures from the wedding. She wanted to keep the full versions, including Marcus walking her down the aisle. She knew it was important to accept her whole family, even the parts that were complicated. Marcus was touched when Michelle showed him the photos. He smiled softly and said, "Thank you for this. It means more than you know." Michelle hugged him, feeling closer to him than ever before. Life continued with small but meaningful changes. Michelle and Marcus created new memories, weekend picnics, movie nights, and quiet talks over coffee. They learned to laugh together and support each other through challenges. Michelle's relationship with her biological family also grew. She visited Maria and Tony's relatives often, sharing stories and building connections. Marcus encouraged her, never feeling threatened but happy to see her find peace. One day, Michelle's husband suggested they have a family celebration, a mix of everyone important in their lives. Michelle agreed, hoping it would be a day filled with love and unity. The celebration was simple but heartfelt. Both families came together, sharing food and stories. There were moments of laughter and some tears, but above all, a feeling of acceptance. Michelle looked around and realized that family wasn't about perfect pictures or simple answers. It was about patience, forgiveness, and being there for one another. Marcus stood beside Michelle, proud and content. He thought back to the early days, when he felt invisible and unsure. Now he felt fully part of her life. Walking her down the aisle was a proud memory, but being there every day mattered even more. Michelle knew their story wasn't perfect. There would still be challenges and misunderstandings, but she was ready to face them with an open heart, knowing she wasn't alone. As the sun set on the celebration, Michelle took Marcus's hand. "Thank you for never giving up on me," she said softly. Marcus smiled and replied, "Family is forever, no matter what." Their journey showed that love can heal wounds and bring people together. It taught them that family is not just about blood, but about choice, trust, and the courage to keep moving forward. Michelle and Marcus had turned a difficult past into a hopeful future. Together, they built a family that could weather storms and celebrate joys, proving that the strongest bonds are made with patience, honesty, and love.